Hey, this is Notser, and we're starting a new series today, Blueprint to Success. It's going to focus on moment-to-moment decision-making, and I really want to highlight in great detail exactly what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking that. I might even pause the video if necessary. The game in the background is myself in the Tier 10 American Destroyer, gearing on the map Trap. Build is on the screen. I have chosen to go a torpedo focus build, fast recharge. Also, I'm using radiolocation. So that's going to inform how I want to play. I'm using the Fletcher torpedoes, which are fast recharge, shorter range, higher damage. They are outstanding at getting damage in quick succession against the enemy and not revealing your location, because obviously sending torpedoes does not increase that vital detection. I really enjoy this playstyle. I've played it a lot, and this is going to be a very interesting game. So we're headed off towards A point. My radiolocation is pointing at something over here. Not precisely, because obviously I can't verify. Literally nothing is spotted. I have no idea how many ships could be coming here, but my past experience on the map says that the northern spawn generally goes BC, the southern spawn generally goes AB. It doesn't work out that way all the time, but I have very rarely seen a successful northern A push. They just don't like it. So I'm going to go off on that and just gingerly work my way over. Clearly the enemy arrived at A point first, and it looks like it's an enemy Benson, who has what appears to be terrible concealment. It could be radar, but it appears to be terrible concealment. Now, I chose to fire in that position because I wanted to get a little bit of free damage. Yes, I detected myself, but you know the nice thing is with the most recent patch, once your detection returns back to the regular bloom, it's fixed like that. It doesn't have like a 20-second countdown. So I just continue to fire once again when my friendly actually uses radar. This enemy Benson is just out in the open, and yes, I'm using AP. He's perfectly broadside. These are the American AP shells that have that faster fuse time. And once he decides to leave, and once I fire a little bit too long, I was taking advantage of the fact that the minnow had no line of sight on my position. Once he actually has line of sight, I've got to get the hell out of this area, at least for now. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to retreat completely. It just means that I would like to not sustain damage and take advantage that the enemy Benson left the capture point. And I always try and do this. As a DD, any pressure that you can continuously put on the enemy to capture the base is a good thing. And oh, of course the Benson sends torpedoes, but they're slow Benson torpedoes. The Benson, unfortunately, still has that 9.2 kilometer range, 55 knot torpedo. If he intends to have a chance of hitting me, he has to use that, and when he does, it's incredibly easy to dodge. And we haven't sustained much damage. AP is very ineffective if you angle completely towards it. I love doing that against the minnow. I use that my radiolocation is still pointing towards the smoke, and the only position that the Benson can go, yes, to contest is back into that smoke location. So I predict it and send both sets. There is a science to all of the torpedo sends. When should you use all sets? When should you use one set? When should you use a layered set on top of each other? It all really depends. In this situation, I just wanted to cover the smoke. I wanted to make sure that every inch of the smoke that is in the capture is being pressured by torpedoes. Now, we might do damage to the enemy Conqueror, but I don't really care about that. And yes, it forces him to move out of the area. We do hit 2 torpedoes on the Conqueror, and he's absolutely going to die. But I'm not going to openly fire until I can guarantee that the time to target is greater than the capture left, and that's exactly what happens. We are successful in capturing. The enemy Benson is recognizing that I'm firing on him, and he's going to try and return fire, but I don't really care about that now. We've got the base. We're cool. I am trying to lead him as he's retreating. I make use of the minimap a lot. Whenever I am trying to lead an enemy DD, I use their direction coupled with the little crosshair circle, and I try and give enough lead that I'm able to successfully damage the target. You gotta get used to the gun velocity that you're rocking, and the gearing is a great example of just really floaty shells, but they're really good shells if you can have that comfort. And Henry Benson, once again, we know he has terrible concealment, and we know he's gonna die. Minnow's trying to retreat. That's cool. Finish this off. Absolutely awesome. And we're gonna just rush back towards B point. As a team, you need to recognize, and as yourself, you need to recognize where you're needed. Because A point is ours. There is no reason to be here for me. One of the hardest things as a player is to recognize when you need to leave that flank and when you need to continuously stay there. As a DD, more so than any other type in the game, you've got to get over to another part of the map quickly and start influencing it. And one of the parts of the map that is under pressure is B point. This is a worst case scenario for my team. We've got two packs of teammates who are isolated from each other. The enemy is predominantly in B point and C point, but they have a much more concerted, powerful defense. They're all in the same area. They could all help each other. So one of the first things that I'm doing as I'm moving is recognizing that there is a minnow. He is camping. I want to make sure 100% I'm in front of the team. That's going to scout any torpedoes that may hurt them, just like that. It also allows me to get an angle that can punish a target if they angle appropriately to my friendlies who are trying to push forward rapidly with me. So I just sent my torpedoes. I decided to double send on the last location, the minnow. I felt like he was too aggressive in his positioning, and that's going to cost him. He's not going to have enough time to move out of the forward position of the smoke. And we do land a torpedo. We land two torpedoes. They cause a flood, and I'm verifying in the top right corner, the flood is still sticking. So that's really great. That's outstanding. And I just want to make sure that I'm not going to set myself up for failure. I want to make sure that I have better concealment than the distance's smoke. And that little mini-map crosshair is a great way of gauging how far away you are from something like smoke or the edge of an island. As long as you can target in and around that smoke, you can have a mini-map verification for range. That's a little tip that hopefully everyone can make use of in the future. And of course, the minnow dies. He can't put the flood out, and I'm going to cautiously move through this area. He could send torpedoes, but I still want to maintain good screening for my teammates. Not enough DDs do this. Not at all. And yep, he did send torpedoes. One made contact. Unfortunately, I didn't get full sight on him. But it looks like the enemy's in full retreat. The last known position of an enemy DD was in at B, and clearly there's still a DD or something contesting B point. So I want to head on over there. We got a couple friendly cruisers who are pushing into B, but they won't be able to detect the enemy gearing or any other DD that might be there until someone like me or a radar ship arrive. And, you know, the Roma, he's really not enjoying himself at all. I can also keep targets spotted who would normally drop off detection as they're retreating. It's really annoying for the enemy, but if you place yourself right in that perfect position and you have good teammates who are able to fire on the target, you don't need to do anything else than what you're doing right here. Screen and spot. And as we're screening and spotting, B point is progressing. So it looks like the enemy DD has left B point, his last known position, and a torpedo salvo was on the eastern side of B. I want to go get him. Our group, who is over by C point, is basically fallen. All we have left is the Asashio, and the worst case scenario, in my opinion, would be for that gearing to pincer the Asashio and not allow him to retreat. So if you see a teammate or teammates, and there is a simple, easy, optimal solution to break them out and reconnect with the team, go for that. That makes the most sense. Taking this gearing out is the easiest thing I can do to give the Asashio a chance to leave. That's all we're looking for, is a chance. It's on that player whether he actually fulfills that. And look at the group I've got here. There's 2 DDs on the map. You want to keep that in mind. We see another Asashio on the enemy team, and then we see that gearing. So these are the only 2 torpedo viable locations that we have to worry about. What that means in context is I don't need to screen exclusively any longer. We know where the 2 enemy DDs are. We can be aggressive, and my aggression is going to include going after the gearing. And of course, friendly Asashio is defeated. We don't have to push this too quick now. A lot of times I'll see players who, they recognize the right play, but they don't recognize the right timing for that play. And I make this mistake too. So what I'm doing is I was very confused. Why is this guy, surface detecting me, but I can't do anything to him? I load some HE, do the damage, then I load AP, hoping to exploit a broadside. I sent 1 set of torpedoes, because that's all I really needed. It forced him into a very awkward position. Now notice, we took out 1 torpedo completely. He only has the ability to send 1 torpedo set now. That's very important information. If you ever see a module completely blacked out, that is gone for good. And that is going to inform how you need to play this situation. But I was aggressively trying to keep him spotted, hoping that my teammates would be able to have a couple shells land on the target. And clearly it didn't work out. And I could have aggressively pushed around the island and died. I would have died 100%. That was never my intent. My intent was just to merely keep him spotted so I could exploit this fact. I could be aggressive with my torpedo launching because the reload's fast, and I just want to back out away from this detection. We have a target acquisition gearing. We also have a Cleveland on approach. I've got to try and back out to about 3 kilometers from the enemy in the island position. And look at my team. They're all falling. Asashio, it's 4 versus 7. This doesn't look good. We've got to make plays, and the first play is enemy gearing, broadside completely. AP, definitely. Don't hold back on this. Should be enough to kill him. There you go. He might have sent torpedoes, but he only has 1 launcher still working, and yes, we can verify completely. I don't want to obviously take the torpedo, and conveniently AP bounces off harmlessly because I have an extreme angle to it. Now, one thing that's interesting is AP bounced off of our ship. It would have been a Conqueror. It's got to be something like the Cleveland, which hasn't been visually spotted, but his last known position was in this area, so keep that in mind. I decide to send torpedoes. Yes, it does look like the Conqueror will probably over-pursue and move out of the torpedo range, but you're never going to hit if you don't send. That is one of the hardest lessons that I have had to learn over my course of my World of Warships career. You've got to send torpedoes to make hits. So I send my torpedo. I notice that, oh, the Cleveland's there. I wait for the Conqueror to use his momentum to line of sight himself, and I engage the Cleveland. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of damage. Maybe I do 1,000, 2,000 damage, but what I am doing is I'm offering a distraction. We make 1 torpedo contact. I believe that was on the Conqueror. And the reason being is the eastern side of the torpedoes, one has been, it no longer exists in the world. So I definitely made contact on the Conqueror, and we made contact on the Cleveland. Please don't underestimate the power of your distractions. If you fire on the target, if you are visible to the target, if the target wants you and he knows you exist, he's probably itching to pull the trigger. In that moment, that could be the difference between him taking a torpedo and missing it completely. Every little bit helps, especially if you're trying to come back and win a game. If I was the Cleveland, I need to recognize that my life is more important than getting a little bit extra damage. There is a potential threat of torpedoes. I just heard the thunk of a friendly taking it. I needed to be a little bit more passive in that situation if I was the Cleveland. If I survive, I can aggressively push towards the enemy gearing with a friendly. Maybe he has radar. You've got to leave your team a chance. And I know it's easy to want to chase this guy down and kill him. And it clearly was a timing window because a Bismarck pops out of the island. I am surface detected, and there's only one culprit for that, the Asashio. Everything else has worse concealment than my ship, and that means the Asashio is like coming bearing down on me. I chose to use my smoke. I retreated. I sent my torpedoes at the enemy Bismarck because he was leaving the safety of the island. And it looks like we indeed will hit all the necessary torpedoes. Yes, we do. We earned Kraken Unleashed. And I'm just going to sit here. There's only 2 potential plays for the Asashio. The third one's out. Usually, a DD would send torpedoes into smoke, trying to flood it and do damage, or even kill the enemy DD that's in the smoke. Asashio can't do that. It has deep water torpedoes. So he either has to use his body, his ship himself, to surface detect me and go 1 versus 1 on this side of the island where it has solid cover. None of his friends can influence that engagement. Or the other solution, he doesn't go straight towards me to detect. Instead, he's going to contest B point. Now, my radio location is telling me he's contesting and he's on the other side of this island. That's what it's saying. Because the Asashio is on the other side of the island, that is informing me that he intends to potentially meet up with the Conqueror. And that's what I would do. You don't want to take unnecessary risks if you feel like you can't get enough from them. He can't get enough from potentially going 1 versus 1 me, but he can absolutely keep me spotted and allow the Conqueror to influence this. Now, I don't want that. I'm going to sail directly away from that play. I'm going to move to the northeast side of B, and I want to keep the enemy battleship spotted as long as possible. The Montana dies. The game is over. So that is the outcome I'm working towards. Radio location is a fantastic skill to protect yourself from any potential unforeseen consequences. If I didn't have radio location, I would not know exactly where the Asashio is. And I love that for DDs. It allows you to just play with the map even more than what you can see with your own eyes. So absolutely great carry from my point of view. Teammates did a great job as well. We killed 5 targets, captured tons of bases, and just lived in the gearings. Just awesome power. I love the Fletcher torpedoes with the fast recharge. It allows me to be so aggressive. I hope you enjoyed seeing this game. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.